It's all right. Well, very good. I'm Pastor Craig and want to welcome you to the Union Church. I think most of us no new visitors today, surprise. But we're glad that you came. We are an international church, and international news has been very big. You guys can be seated. International news has been very big these days. In a global society, it has been and is, but now with our crisis, the COVID-19 the COVID-19 virus, we are addressing those special needs today, and we'll be doing that. So we're glad that you're here. As pastor, I wanted to have this opportunity to address that with you face to face. But we know many couldn't be here today for very good reasons. And so we're going to try today to do some live streaming. Of course, that's not easy technology, and it's our first crack at it. But as we'll be explaining, we'll probably have more weeks, several weeks to perfect that technology. So we're going to continue in worship today, and I just wanted to thank you for coming so I can address you personally as your pastor. And one of the outcomes of our gathering today is to give you peace in the midst of a crisis, and also to give you direction on how to take some steps in a positive way that will not only give you peace, but will also give peace to others that we come in contact with, that you will be able to give them hope. And so when you leave here today, we pray that you will be better prepared to face the coming days and whatever the Lord has in store for us. And so that's all in terms of announcements today. We're going to be sending out information about small groups and those kind of things. The news doesn't change by the day, it changes by the hour. And so we're going to address some of those changes. So it's hard for us to say today what we're going to do tomorrow, but we will tell you how we will communicate that so you can all get that communication hourly if you want. And it's almost safe to say that next week we will not be meeting, only as we predict the things that are happening. Already many churches choosing not to meet. But we'll address that in the sermon today. And of course, the truth. And the truth that will set us free. The truth that hasn't changed since eternity. It's the truth of the generations, and it's the truth that will set this generation free from whatever circumstance or crisis comes our way. Well, we are live, I believe, and welcome to all of you who are joining us by way of webcam. Are we up there? Hey, Paulo. So, for you at home who may not have access to our slides, I have sent to each of the small groups a letter about today's meeting and about the steps that we are taking as a church. And during this preaching time, we're simply going to go through that paragraph by paragraph so you understand how seriously that we as a church take this pandemic, but also steps that you can take to protect yourself and the greater Rio de Janeiro area. And of course, there'll be a final word that has to do with our sermon series from the book of Mark, the good news of the gospel of Mark. And it's the foundation of God's word that is the final word, and the truth and the foundation that we stand on. It's the truth that sets us free, even in the worst of epidemics and crises and problems. And so, as one person already said this morning, when I see this craziness, I can't help but think of God's word. And if everyone leaves here today a little bit more prepared for that, then I as a pastor will be happy that as things get crazy, as the fears and the anxiety comes, as we've seen throughout the book of Mark in crises, and there's been plenty of them, that the disciples see Jesus, that we see God's word, and we remember key truths. One that we just sang, that we have a Father who loves us, that we are his children. He will never leave us or forsake us. And so we're going to start with that. If we can bring up the first slide, please. I'm just going to read that, and then we're going to bring you into it. I'm not passing the mic around today because, again, that would be a bad example, passing a common tool around, and we'll explain some of that as why we're doing this. And also, because we're being live streamed, I've been summoned to this. I can move this far and this far. And you know me, I like to come out there and shake you up a little bit. So I must stay here today. And so we're just going to read through this, and I hope it'll be very edifying for you. It says this: we at Union Church recognize that these are uncertain times and that there is a lot that we don't understand about the coronavirus. This causes fear, anxiety, and lots of stress. Now, I've seen that with you this week. I've seen people very fearful, some people angry, other people in tears. And so we understand that we are in a moment of crisis, and there's a lot we don't understand, and that fear, anxiety, and stress is a part of our lives and your life. Now, here's a couple notes that are not in this letter and that's not on there. So note this, please. 2 causes of fear, okay? Anxiety and stress. One I just mentioned, uncertainty and the unknown. But the other is crises. What is a crisis? How do you define a crisis? Because we are in a crisis. A crisis is the disruption of everyday life. Now, those of you who have lost a family, a loved one in your family, that's a personal crisis. That's a family crisis. And it disrupts your everyday life. Now, maybe the whole city doesn't stop, but that's a personal crisis. You lose a job, separation from a spouse. Those are crises, personal crises. But what we're talking here about, a crisis that not only impacts your life personally, but it's impacting our whole city. It's impacting Brazil. It's impacting the whole world. And that's why it's called a pandemic. We're in a crisis where the everyday life has been altered. So I wanted to give you an example. For me, I was supposed to fly tonight to the United States to be part of a mission conference. We're saying farewell to a missions pastor of 20 years. And I didn't want to miss that occasion. Plus, it's a church that financially supports me as a missionary. It's been a wonderful time to visit this pastor, the church, at this missions conference, and then to visit some family members, my folks, who are 80 years old. We're going to drive up some from South Carolina. My aunt and uncle, who are 90 years old, 91. And then 4 other churches that support me. And so I was watching TV Thursday night, and everything here was relatively calm when the President of the United States got on to make an announcement to all of America. And he declared a state of emergency. And at that time, things radically changed. I think at that time he didn't even declare the state of emergency, but he closed the borders. There was many things that happened. They closed the borders to Europe. State of emergency soon came after. These changes, they're not coming day by day. They're coming moment by moment. Then I got an email right after that. The missions conference is canceled. Now what do I do? And then just 2 days ago, I got a letter from my board to send to my supporters that every missionary in Reach Global, over 400 family units, have been banned from travel in the next 30 days. Because the fear is if you travel, things changing moment by moment, you may not get home. And when you get to that new country, they may put you in quarantine for 14 days. So there's so many unknowns that everybody stay in your country of residence, and leaders like I am, so we can have accountability with our missionaries. So that's one example for me. I lost $900 in a flight, non-refundable flight. Those things never cancel. But who would know when I bought this over a month ago that would happen? So I want to ask you today, what are some of the disruptions in your everyday life that you've been experiencing since this pandemic has happened? And we don't have the microphone, but just stand up where you are and just kind of say with a loud voice, how have you seen your life disrupted? Yes, Melissa. School has been closed for 2 weeks. Now, Melissa's a teacher. I don't know if that's a good thing. Welcome, no. She's very sad about that. Who has been impacted here by their child's school being closed? Just raise your hand. Barry in the back there, yeah. If you're a mom or dad, if you're a teacher, yes, this is a huge impact. Now taking care of our children, yeah. Now, some of you don't have kids, but just seeing the schools close, maybe it didn't impact your day, but it's caused anxiety to see all of a sudden institutions, one after the other, closing, right? What's another example of your day-to-day being disrupted? College, yeah, suspended. Okay, your dad works and, yeah, Uber driver, and it's kind of dried up. Yeah. So the economy. So one person came to me that's into finance. Pastor, how do we address, the people in our world? Because my life is finance. I make finance happen for people. That's what God uses me to do. And right now that's been stripped. Where is my worth? How can I encourage others in this time? So the whole economy, our jobs, it was already pretty bad. And now, who knows? Yeah. One of the things is global communication. Global communication is normal. And as you see, global communication, one thing it does negatively, it causes panic. We begin to see what happened in China, and we assume it's going to happen here. We see what's happening in the States, and we begin to panic. I cannot watch the news with my heart starting to beat, 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 beat. It causes an anxiety. But the other thing global communication does on the positive side, what does it do for us? What's a positive side of global communication? We can learn from it. If you can control the panic and you begin to learn what happened in China and why it happened there, what happened in Italy, what are the other European states doing to avoid that? What is the United States doing? What must we do when it comes here? We learn from it, and we're learning. We are learning. People are learning. And so we're going to see this in a minute. I'm a surfer, and so I have to know how to swim. But we learn in swimming and in surfing one important rule. One of the very important rules you need to learn is never panic. And I've been in some high seas, deep water, where the land is almost not visible. And I've lost my surfboard. Once I was with my surfboard, but the current was so swift, it just took me out to the shipping lanes. And it was foggy. And I couldn't see the land, and I just thought, I'm going to be lost out here in sea. So what happens? We began to think why the worst case scenario. And Americans, we're preoccupied with this. One of my friends bought me a book called Worst Case Scenario. so that if an eagle attacks you, you're ready. You know what to do. In America, we say stop, drop, and roll. The rest of the world say, huh? You know, so I tell my wife, our daughter has to know what to do if she one day catches fire. And she said, that's just sick, you know. You're going to cause panic. She's going to think one day, how many kids do you know just caught fire? You know, it's like they'll figure it out at the time, you know. So anyway, we panic. And the first thing as a surfer we need to learn is not to panic. Breathe. You're drifting out. You've lost your board. Breathe. First, just breathe. Bring the heart rate down. Then think. What do I know is true? Well, the currents are going to be my friend, not my enemy. Don't fight the currents. Let me see where they're going to take me. And every time I've done that, I've rested in the current, and when I've come out of the current, I had strength to swim to the place I needed to be. And sometimes I even found my board that was in the same current waiting for me there. And so the same way with this virus, when you begin to get anxious, first thing is turn the news off and open up the Word of God and breathe. And then write down what you know. Today, in this sermon, we're going to see 7 steps you can take to practice, okay? Now, we are going to learn, and we're learning, our officials are learning, our churches are learning how to be prepared for what's coming down the road, okay? I'm going to just share one of these things that I was sent to from the president of our mission. Everywhere where the virus has been, and we have missionaries in all those places, from China to Europe to the United States, every time it's all normal. And Kuhn, who's a leader here and has moved back to Belgium, he verified this. In Belgium, there was a few cases, everything normal. The minute the prime minister or president of Belgium declared a state of emergency, the supermarkets, poof, instantly were empty. And Delva went to the store just 2 days ago, and she said it was no coffee, no rice, no salt, no. So I'm telling you right now as your pastor, the minute Bolsonaro says, I declare a state of emergency, we don't know that he will, but don't wait. If he does, it's going to be instant. Everyone runs there. You won't be able to then go to do it. Go now. Some people like to have 3 days of supplies. For example, it's a virus that causes fevers. For me, I do horribly with fevers, so I'm going to get Giperona. If I wait to have a fever to go get Giperona, there's a good chance there's not going to be any at the pharmacy. So work ahead. Don't panic. But if you don't have good water at your house, make sure you have some gallons of water. Anywhere, some people will do 3 days. Because if you get sick, you're supposed to quarantine yourself for 14 days, right? Have up to 14 days of food or water in your home. Now, we'll talk more about that. I don't want to go down that chute, but that's one of the things that happen every place. Why would it not happen here? So far, you're saying, well, it hasn't happened here. You're right, but it hasn't been declared a state of emergency. So what I would say is go and buy some of these things beforehand so you're not caught up in the panic. And panic causes people to do, they're not necessarily irrational things. They're rational if in a panic, but you don't have to be part of the panic. You can go ahead of time and take care of what you need. And in that way, too, you'll be ready to help others who are in need. One of the things panic does, it helps us to be focused here on yourself. Myself, I've saved people who thought they were drowning, and lifeguards have too. You cannot let a person that's panicking in the water get close to you, because they will grab you and bring you down. When you're panicking in a crisis, you're not going to be helpful to others. And this is a time for the church to take a lead, and in the midst of panic, to bring peace and calm. Brother, I have something for you. I'll bring it to you. Especially our elderly who can't go out or risk it. Okay? Here we go. Let's go to the next part here. The bottom line here, life is going to be different for a while. The crisis isn't going to go away in 2 weeks. The crisis is going to be here, and life is going to be different for a while. Let's prepare for it. Okay, here we go. How about it says this, we, the UC leadership, recognize the reality. Do we have that one? Yeah, there it is. The bottom part. We, the UC leadership, recognize the reality and seriousness of the coronavirus, COVID-19 pandemic. We advise everyone, and especially those most at risk, the elderly, and those with pre-existing medical conditions, to take all precautions to protect yourself from the virus. This includes avoiding crowded places and mass transit, if possible. But we know, too, the world's not going to stop. People are going to have to go to work. And so you're not going to be able to stop life totally. But we encourage you as leadership to do everything under your control to protect yourself. What is a crowded place? What are crowds? Every place you see defines a crowd differently, okay? In some places, still in the United States, it's over 500 people. So groups of 200, 100, 300 are meeting. In other places, it's over 100 people. But the crowding is relative to the building you're in. So if you're with 30 people, but in a closed room with air conditioning, that is not a healthy place to be. And they say 30 people in a closed room for 3 hours is already no, because that's how diseases and sickness can spread, okay? So you're going to have to see. One of the reasons we met here today, and we'll talk about that a little bit, for the number that we have and the space we have, it poses no danger to you, okay, today in the situation that we have in Brazil for be here this morning. And I wanted to have this personal connection with you. Now, this will change, and we'll get there in a minute. Let's read this next one here. We are following the guidelines of medical specialists and our elected officials to not only protect individuals, but also our greater community. One societal problem is the overcrowding of hospitals during an epidemic. Those with the most serious diseases do not get the care they need. We want to minimize the spreading of germs that may cause any type of sickness that would lead to a trip to the ER in this time of crisis. As you know, our hospitals get full. But then if you put an epidemic where 20% of the population will need a hospital visit, there's no way that the current personnel, the doctors and nurses, can take care. There's no way that there'll be enough beds. So one of the things that we're doing here, let me read this again. Those with the most serious disease do not get the care they need. We want to minimize the spreading of germs that they may cause any type of sickness that would lead to a trip to the ER in time of crisis. And the idea of social distancing. And let's see this graph here. Do we have the graph? Yeah. So what does social distance do? We always think in terms of me. I'm not sitting at Barbara in case she sneezes. I don't want to get the virus, right? Well, maybe Barbara doesn't have the virus. What we're doing here is not about you. Now, I don't want to offend you. It's in part about you. We don't want you to get the sickness. But we're even more concerned about that line right in the middle of the slide, the healthcare system capacity. What happened in China, the red, there was no protective measures. So when the virus came, everybody got sick at the same time. There was no virus, and then everybody got the sickness. And what happens? The sickness dies out fast as well. Because once you get the virus, you will not get it a second time. It takes the average person 2 weeks to get better. And then when you're done, the virus goes away. Or goes to somebody else, of course. But if everybody gets it at the same time, basically it goes through the country pretty fast. The tragedy in this is look at the line of the healthcare system capacity. Most of that, the 20% who need the help, get no help. because everybody's filling out the hospital capacity, all right? And so a larger number than necessary of people died because the people who needed the help couldn't get the help they needed. So what social distancing does, it creates the blue model. We put social distancing and other protective measures that we're going to talk about so that when the virus comes, if you look, it's the same amount of mass. The same amount of people basically are going to get the sickness. Maybe a little bit less. But what's going to happen is they're going to get it, the population will get it more slowly. And when it peaks, it will be peaking under the capacity for hospitals to treat you. But that's why you don't go to the hospital with every little cough or every little sneeze. I gotta go, because you're gonna be taking the spot of somebody who really needs it. So we want to do social distancing so you don't get any kind of sickness that would lead you to the hospital. And we're gonna give you some sources so you know when you need to go to the hospital. We'll talk about that. So what happens is the virus will be in that place a longer time. It'll be more sustained for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, but never get to that level where the hospitals are too full to help the people. And you have a larger population of the people that heal from it. So I think they're saying about 20% of whoever gets this needs hospital visits, and that has to do with respiratory problems. But when it comes in this lower model, flattening the curve, most of those people are treatable. Unfortunately, those who are above 80 years old and those with either kidney disease or have cancer, those who had pre-existing maybe asthma, AIDS, all these people, you have to really, really protect yourself because it's about 20% of these folks that it can be critical. So this is a real crisis. But the reason we're doing this is not only for you, but it's so that we don't overwhelm the health system, okay? The crisis is here, and the crisis will prolong. Now, maybe it won't be like the Northern Hemisphere because this virus, it reacts negatively, which is a good thing. It dies in the heat and sunny days. The UV light kills the virus. So in a cold place like the United States or Europe, if someone sneezes on this table, it will stay for 3 days live, and anyone who touches that will pick it up. And then when you touch your eye, nose, or ear, then it has a doorway to your system. Where in the heat and in the ultraviolet light, it's a much, much shorter time, maybe hours, that it stays alive. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about that slide? Okay. All right, let's look at this next one here. Yeah. So we will have our normal church service tomorrow, which is today. This may change in the future, but for now, the number of people that meet at UC is an appropriate number for the length of time that we're here and the size of our facility. We're also pleased to provide a live feed to our UC worship service for those who feel they need to stay at home. And we're very glad. I don't know if this is working out at home or not, but we hope it is. And we're going to have several weeks to figure this out. I can say 99% chance that next Sunday we will not be meeting. But as a pastor, I didn't want to make that decision yesterday because of a large church of 13,000 meeting in the United States is making that. And that, if we were 13,000, we would have made that decision today. But because we're few in number and we can do this safely, and you need to hear it from me, I wanted to do it this way. But already next week, we are going to be most likely going to the live feed so that we can comply to what the doctors and our government officials are asking us to do. They could liberate it all by next week, but the way the trend is going, it's not that way. But I will tell you how you can know those things. So let's see how you can check into the live meeting next week. Yeah, so you will get this Zoom link. You can just click on the Zoom and you will be part of this meeting. And you'll also get a letter from us. This is going to come to the small group leaders, and the small group leaders must pass it to your groups. And you will get the weekly communique, and there may be 2 or 3 weeks communications in a week, all right? So you just simply pass that to the people in your group. Now there's these barcodes you can scan with your phone, and apparently that will bring you right into the meeting, all right, the church meeting. There's Zoom and there's Facebook. And so how many of you ever saw the letter before you came this morning? Did you get my letter? Okay. So if you're not getting that letter, make sure you see me today or someone that's raised their hand that you can be on the list to get these communiques. Yeah. This is our website. Now, this isn't the appropriate page, but I just want to show off Elias, Claudio, Rodrigo, and the rest of the team. We have a really amazing website, and each week we've been getting more and more visitors. And we ask them, how did you know to come to the Union Church? And they said, oh, we found it on your website. So we want to say congratulations, guys. And you can also get vital information on the website. Is the link there? Okay, oh yeah, there it is. Oh no, what's the website link? It's just ucrio.org, ucrio.org. But if you put in the Union Church of Rio de Janeiro in Google, you'll find our website. Okay? Any questions about the live feed or about receiving communications through WhatsApp? That's going to be very important for us as a church in these next couple days. All right, well, here are a few preventative steps that we are taking as a church to mitigate the impact of COVID-19, the coronavirus, on our church community and the bigger community. First of all, we've installed sanitizers throughout. How many of you have seen a sanitizer right here? And then in the other building, we also have them. And we also have big signs up everywhere, wash your hands. The truth of the matter is, it's always better to wash your hands with soap and water than it is to use sanitizer. Sanitizer is not as effective as soap and water, okay? If you have the choice, wash your hands with soap and water, okay? Okay, we've added to the number of chairs here for the appropriate people so that you can have your social distancing. I forget some things sometimes. Social distancing is great in a crisis, but it's like direct opposite of the gospel, isn't it? Jesus came to break down social distancing. Now, it's a good term, don't get me wrong, but how are we Christians and love Jesus who's broken down walls of hostility when we're socially distancing ourselves from people? So that's one of the main questions that we want to look at this morning. So, and also we've canceled our monthly meals and weekly snacks. Today we're not going to be putting finger foods out. Finger foods are one of those things where touchy. We're going to figure this out, guys. We're going to figure out what we can do and what we can't do. But on behalf of our staff, who has to clean all that and touch that, we're trying to limit not only danger for us, because I could get a cookie out of there without getting a virus on me. Well, you may be able to, but then someone has to clean all that up, you know. And again, most of us, you know, we know each other. These risks and these rules are because people go to these large areas where you don't know people there. It's the unknown. But when with your family members, you know who's sick and who's not sick. So, and with this virus, you don't always. So we're doing all these kind of things. Okay, we're going to watch a little video now. Well, what's on next? We got the next one. That's what we've done. Now, here's what we're asking you to do. Do we have that? Yeah. So this is steps we would like you to take while you're with us. Anyone who does not feel well, please stay at home. Oh, I know it's not the COVID virus. Doesn't matter. Treat that and stay home. They're asking anyone who doesn't feel well. Well, if you need to go to work, that's okay. But follow these rules. When you arrive at Union Church or for wherever you're going, sanitize your hands the minute you get to that place, using the alcohol provided, but washing your hands at the sink. Limit touching. We know that Brazilian culture celebrates hugging and kissing and shaking hands as a warm greeting. But during this time and the preparation for the cold flu season, which is yet to come, what could happen, we want to practice now so it's natural if this thing gets worse. Okay, we're doing it in respect for those who are more susceptible, the vulnerable to the virus. So we ask that you limit this type of greeting, okay? Anything that deals with touching the other. Okay, are we ready now? Let's see. Here's a big question. Should I avoid shaking hands? Is that really true? Yeah, this comes from the World Health Organization. Yes! Read that with me. Respiratory viruses can be passed by shaking hands and touching your eyes, nose, and mouth. Okay? So this is real stuff. I'm not making this stuff up. Everything I'm passing to you, I've gotten from credible sources. Let's see if we can watch this video. Seven steps to prevent the spread of the virus.
Hi, Pastor Craig. You can keep this here.
For watching presentation through our sources, through our website or app. Okay. What were the 7 things for us to practice? What was the first one? Wash your hands. Now, I'm a guy, I go to the men's room a lot, and I see a lot of people, even in a normal day, going to the bathroom and they don't wash their hands. They just walk out. They stop, look at the mirror, and they walk out. Wash your hands. Now, I've done this. I'm going to wash my hands. So what do? I'm not talking about the women because I don't know what happens there. But guys, what do we do when we do wash our hands? Turn that water on, check ourselves out, get a little water on the hands, do this, turn that thing off and out the door. That's not washing your hands. The doctors are recommending that for 20 seconds with soap lathered in your hands, you wash your hands, okay? We're talking about, this is serious, changing a habit here. You turn the water on, you get your hands wet, you put the soap on, and then someone start counting, all right? You do this, and you get your in between the fingers, all right? You rub your hands like this to get the lather really up, and then you go behind your hands, and you're really supposed to go all the way up to your elbow. That's the next point too, we'll see. But you want to go all the way up to your elbows because you're bumping into people and whatnot. And then you got to do your fingers. Most viruses like the fingernails. You're supposed to then grind your little fingernails in there, wash them there, right? Do that. And then your thumbs, finally your thumbs. Are we to 20 seconds yet? Takes a little time, folks. Wash your hands. Rinse it well. They say grab a towel, turn the little spigot thing off with the towel. Then you grab that dirty, nasty handle that most people who didn't wash their hand touch. Use that towel to open the door and throw it out, I don't want you to be paranoid, but there are certain things we have to change, all right? Avoid what? How many of you like tennis? You ever watch Rafael Nadal play tennis? When he's serving, the guy's the most nervous person I've ever seen. He touches every orifice. And an orifice I teach my daughter, that's like a doorway to your body. The hand's not going to make you sick. It's not the virus on your hand. It's when your hand touches your eye, your mouth, your nose. That's where that stuff really goes, all right? It's the person sneezing on the surface on this. So Nadal's there doing this. Before he serves, he touches everything over and over again. It's so nerve-wracking. Listen, if your eyes itch, here's a great thing. In your pocket, keep something like this. And so whatever it is, a cough, an itch, use paper. Throw it out, okay? A mask, yeah. So the mask is for the one who is sick, not for the one who's not sick. So if someone's coughing, they need to wear a mask, okay? So that it's, yeah, if you're really itchy, just put a mask on and take care of that stuff. Now, cover your cough. How do we cover the cough? You guys know, how do we cover the cough? Inside of your elbow, because your hand's going to be touching everything. Please don't cough in your hand, because then your hand's going to be touching surfaces, all right? Cough in your elbow. Cleaning surfaces, very important. And staying at home when you're sick. When do you call a doctor? They're asking that you don't call a doctor with every little fever or every little cough. But it's very important that you do call a doctor when? As soon as you feel any restriction to your breathing, you can call your doctor for any symptom. For any symptom, you can call your doctor. Going to the ER, first call your doctor, and we're going to show you some sites, some apps that you can get the information whether you need to go or not. But before everybody runs, oh, I have a slight fever, oh, I have a slight cough, check the information. Call your doctor before going, because it's when the respiratory, anything to do with your respiratory, if you have a difficulty going up steps, don't play with that. Go right to the doctors. The doctors are there to treat you, okay? And then finally, be aware. You need to be aware of what's happening in our region. I'm trying to, but like I said, in the hour and a half that we're here, things have already changed out there. So we will find the new changes as soon as we leave here. But let's jump to this. I want you to note some of these sources. But what sources can I trust? Well, here's one in Portuguese. It's an app. You get it at the Play Store or at the appsapple.com. This is coronavirus, SUS. And if you have any questions, you can do a triaging. You can put your symptoms and someone will respond to you what the care you need, okay? So this is a very good Portuguese app to have. Whether it's English or not, I'm not sure. But for local information, this is a great app. You go to the store and put it on. What's another good source, Pastor, that I can check in? Okay, both the CDC and the World Health Organization. Are they perfect? No. Do they make mistakes? No. But if you want to find out what's happening globally, those are two more. You can Google either one of those. You can go to YouTube, and they're just putting out a lot of information regularly, okay? But those are fairly trustworthy sources, okay? What do we got? Okay, this is how we're going to close today. Finally, the final word for us, okay? And this is the most important thing I'm going to share with you. We're surprised by this crisis, but, can we read that with me? God is not. God is in control. This is an opportunity for the Church of Jesus Christ to show love, compassion, mercy, because Jesus is enthroned and is Lord over all. God is not overwhelmed by this. Now, it was easy to study this in Mark about some guy 2,000 years ago, but now we're in our crisis. How will we as Christ followers respond? It was easy to laugh at the disciples when they pointed at one another and in pride fought and in fear didn't trust. But now it's our turn. How will we respond? Psalm 29:10 says this, and read it with me, this psalm. Let's read it together. The Lord sits enthroned over the flood. The Lord is enthroned as King forever. The Lord gives what? Strength to His people. The Lord blesses His people with peace. Let's go to the next verse. Psalm 56, 3 through 4. When I am afraid, I put my trust in you, Lord, in God, whose word I praise. In God I trust. I am not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? We place our trust in the Lord. Another one that's great is Isaiah 41:10. You can write that down and look that up. But Isaiah 41:10, it's the Lord telling us not to be afraid. And he tells us that he is with us and he will lift us up with his righteous right hand. And that is for those who trust. What is faith? It's belief, what we say we believe, and trust, follow. Okay? And that's going to get us to our final scripture that has to do with the Gospel of Mark. We've been looking at the Gospel of Mark, and we've seen these last weeks where Jesus is identified as the Messiah, the Christ, and that is two big words for what? Savior, the one who saves, right? And so you are the Christ. And then what does he tell his disciples? The Christ must die. How can a Savior die? That's like a lifeguard. I'm the lifeguard, but I'm going to drown. I mean, it doesn't make sense to anybody. How are you going to save me if you're dead, you know? But Jesus teaches, and we've seen that. We're going to see that. But in Mark is laying this out, what kind of Savior we have and what kind of Christian follower we must be. What kind of Christ is Jesus? What kind of Christian are we? We're going to read these verses from Mark 12. Now, Jesus has been showing, he's been teaching, and so some people are noticing that this guy knows a lot. So they're going to ask him a very good question. Let's stand as we read this. Don't get nervous. This is not going to be a sermon, just a verse. But I want you to stand because I want you to hear this. One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating. Noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer, he asked him, all of the commandments, which is of all the commandments, which is the most important? And there were 600 and some commands. The most important one, Jesus answered, is this. Read it with me. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. And the second is this. Love your neighbor as yourself. There is no command greater than these things. Okay, you can be seated. So this command is in direct contrast to what we're being taught in the middle of a crisis. What are we being taught? Social distancing. What is Jesus teaching as the greatest command? Love God and love your neighbor. Love God, love your neighbor, social distancing. How can we love even our neighbor in the midst of fear? In the midst of protecting ourselves? The name of the Lord is Yahweh. And we looked at this in the book of Ruth. Yahweh, for the Israelite people, they were the people he brought to himself and said, you are my people. It was a covenant. It was a marriage relationship. It was an intimate relationship with God, Yahweh. And when they say, hear, O Israel, Yahweh is one. Our Yahweh, they have this great covenant God. God has demonstrated his love for his people. God has demonstrated his love for his people. He's not that Jehovah God on the mountain, not the Elohim, the El Shaddai fire far away. He's the Yahweh, God of the covenant, that wants a marital relationship, a close, intimate relationship. And he's made an agreement with his people. And his people have broken the agreement every time. So how has Yahweh manifested his love for all people of all time, not just the Israelites? How has he made the new marriage, the new covenant, better than the old one? What did he do? How does God demonstrate his love? While we were still sinners, enemies, Christ died for us. So Jesus comes. But Jesus is not Yahweh, right? That's the beauty of the mystery of the Trinity. We saw, jump up here. Let's see if we have this. Yeah. Jesus, in his transfiguration, he showed the disciples with Moses and Elijah that he's the exact representation of Yahweh. The glory of the God of that mountain has come close. The covenantal God is about to make a blood covenant with his people through suffering and through crises, right? And so what does he teach his disciples when they need to know it most? Next slide. Yeah. The cycle. 3 times Jesus predicts his death. There's going to be a crisis. It's going to get scary. Blood's going to flow and people are going to die. But Christ's followers don't want to hear about crises and troubles and tribulations. But Jesus said they will be part of this life. So then the disciples respond with pride. I don't believe it. Nothing can touch me. And they see how they can promote themselves above the others. And then Jesus finally teaches not only about him being the suffering servant, but that all restoration and all victory, all peace will come through following him. Cross-bearing servanthood. And that's where we are today. Let's go to this next slide. The verse, for even the Son of Man, right in the beginning in red, did not come to be served, but to serve and to give his life as a ransom for many. Folks, love God and love others. We need to protect ourselves, and we will. You can't be foolish. I'm not saying in the name of Jesus just go rebuke germs and go touch everybody. No. But there's going to be a moment in time where you need to hug a brother or hug a sister. You need to put the protection aside. Now, not if you're in that critical mass. I was here with a parent. He's a man that we know. He put his daughter in. I put my daughter in. We were both a little late. He had his gym clothes on. He said, not going to work today. I said, oh. Well, I asked him, I said, how are you? And he said, I couldn't sleep last night. That's why I'm dressed like this. I didn't sleep 1 minute last night. He said, the troubles and tribulations of this life. And he's not a believer. And I said, oh, I had one of those nights last week. I feel for you. We got to the car. He said, well, I'll see you later. I said, well, wait. Let me pray for you. Would you do that? And I just prayed over him. As I did, he began to shake and just weep and weep and weep and weep. So I said, come here. I just hugged him. He needed a hug. And he just looked at me and he said, thank you. I said, yeah, well, let's get together. There's going to be a time in these next 3 months where you're going to need to hug somebody. You need to use your wisdom. You need to follow the Lord's leading, okay? Don't go out and say, Pastor Craig said there's no rules. You have 7 things you got to follow, right? But there's going to be time when it's time to show the love of Christ and to serve. What if you went out and bought extra food, right? What could you do with that food? Don't you have an elderly person that lives in your building? How is that person going to get around without risking herself? Could you just say, hey, in these next 2 weeks while there's no school, we want to bless you with some food so you don't have to go out? And if you want to do that with a mask on, you can, and gloves, whatnot. But you can bless people. You can leave it by their door, ring the bell and run if you want. You know, everyone has a different degree of faith. But there are ways that we can think about of blessing people. Okay? Folks, in the end, that's basically what I wanted to tell you. Take up your cross and follow Jesus. The first shall be last. Whoever wants to be great must be servant. But the good news is this. Life or death. He's got you. In faith, you are a child of God. And nothing can take you from that. Talking to Angela, and she said, you know, Craig, all this stuff makes me see the Bible's true about what's going to happen. Things are even going to get worse and crazier. Yes, but she says, you know, I have this peace because I see it coming. Yes, so can't you ask your neighbor? I'm peaceful because I see what God's word says, and I know I belong to him. How about you? Are you at peace with this? Oh, I'm not at peace. Is this not a way you can open up the door? You can ask somebody, how are you? Are you at peace? Oh, I'm not at peace. I'm nervous. I'm anxious. And think of a way to encourage them with God's word, okay? We need to be proactive, not only in the social distancing, but in breaking down those social distances through offering the love of Christ in a moment of crisis, in a moment when the everyday is disrupted. We as a church can bring peace and love and meet real needs to our community. Amen? Okay. We're going to call the band up here, and I think that's it. Oh, here, let's flash through these. This is why I have confidence in you. This is our financial peace group. We met Tuesday night. Look at those folks. For 9 weeks, we met together. We met every other week, so we had 5 encounters together. And we were talking about our finances, chiefly between our spouses. It was a very intense time. These guys met on Tuesday last week. We met. Then go to the next slide. This is Carol's Women's Group. They met the very next morning right here studying God's Word. Okay, go to the next slide. Then Wednesday or Thursday afternoon, I think it was Wednesday, Thursday, one of those 2 days, we all met up in the conference room, making a plan how we can bless Cume de Monch Church and how they can bless us in a 3-way partnership for the cause of the gospel. Go ahead. That's our Union Church team. And then here are the ladies at Alessandra's small group meeting Thursday night. Okay. And then we had the men Thursday night at Rodrigo's house. Now, already, I don't know how many people there are, over 20, 25 people meeting together doing last week. And then this group was not able to get together, but we have another group that gets together as well. Folks, I'm not sure if we're going to be having our small groups or not. We're going to send that information out. But I have full confidence, not only in the Lord, because He is who He says He is, and I am who He says He is, based on the Word of God, but also you guys love one another. And not only through these small groups will you love one another, but you will encourage one another in the time of crisis with hope. So even if we're not physically together, you're going to be messaging back and forth, and you're going to be encouraging one another and telling stories of how you are encouraging your oikos group. Who's your oikos group? Your family, those who are not part of this church. Your friends. Your neighbors, that elderly lady, and your colleagues. This is the world around you that need hope and peace and real help. Okay? May the Lord bless our church.